If there's one thing I learned from being a mechanical engineer for over 2 decades, it's that every system, whether a bridge, a turbine, or a community, has a stress point. And when you push it just far enough, even the sturdiest structure cracks. For 15 years, Blue Cove Estates had been my sanctuary. Tucked beside a tranquil lake and flanked by towering oaks that had seen more summers than most of its residents, the neighborhood was the kind of place people dreamed about retiring to. I moved there after my father passed, bringing with me a single treasured possession, a 24-foot fishing boat named Legacy. My dad had spent years customizing that boat, and after he died, it became my lifeline. A connection to memories I never wanted to lose. Every Saturday, my son Micah and I worked on Legacy. We'd polish the hull, replace aged wiring, laugh over peanut butter sandwiches in the cabin, and dream of launching her into open water again. Since the divorce, those moments with Micah had become sacred. My ex-wife had taken a job 3 states away, and Micah stayed with me full-time during the school year. The boat became our therapy, our project, and our bond. I'd made sure Legacy wouldn't be an issue when I first moved to Blue Cove. I pored over the HOA regulations twice before signing anything. Recreational vehicles, including boats, were permitted in driveways so long as they were maintained and didn't obstruct sidewalks. No problem. I built a reinforced gravel bed alongside my garage just for her. Not once in 15 years did I receive a single complaint. That changed the day Violet Chambers took over the HOA. I noticed her before I knew who she was. High heels clicking down the sidewalk, clipboard in hand, cat-eye sunglasses on her face. She looked like someone who enjoyed giving out parking tickets at church. I was trimming hedges when she walked by and snapped a picture of Legacy. "Can I help you?" I asked, more amused than alarmed. "Just conducting a routine aesthetic review," she replied without looking up. The next week, I got my first violation notice in the mail. Improper vehicle storage, unsightly and detrimental to property value. Micah watched me read it, eyes narrowing. "Are they serious?" he asked. I nodded. "They're serious. But they're also wrong." I thought it would end there. I filed a rebuttal citing the HOA's own bylaws. Bella Jensen, my neighbor and a pediatrician who didn't suffer fools, knocked on my door that evening. "Eli, she's coming for you," Bella said. "Violet's on some crusade to clean up the neighborhood. She thinks boats are tacky." "She's a newcomer," I said. "She'll learn the rules." But Violet had no intention of learning anything. At the next HOA meeting, she introduced a new agenda item, a proposed amendment to prohibit all boats, RVs, and recreational vehicles from driveways. No discussion. No debate. Just a PowerPoint and a smug smile. I stood up. "I've had my boat in that driveway for 15 years without a single complaint," I said. "You can't just change the rules overnight." "Times change, Mr. Barrett," she replied. "We need to raise our standards." I was voted down. Violet's allies on the board rubber-stamped her proposal. I got home to find an orange notice taped to my door. 48 hours to remove Legacy or face fines of $200 per day. I appealed. They ignored me. 3 days later, I returned from work to find my boat gone. At first, I thought she'd been stolen. I called the police, frantic. Officer Martin arrived, shrugged, and said it sounded like a civil matter. "Check with the HOA," he advised. I called Bella. She told me what she saw, Legacy being hauled away while Violet supervised like a general at war. It took me another 2 hours to track down the tow company. When I arrived, the damage was obvious: scraped hull, broken rod holders, cracked navigation mount. Legacy was in worse shape than after the hurricane of '05. The tow guy, Greg, looked genuinely sorry. "They rushed us," he admitted. "That lady said it had to be gone before sunset. We weren't even trained for a boat that size." The repair estimate nearly gave me a stroke. But that was only the beginning. I contacted Melissa Wade, a real estate attorney Bella recommended. She took one look at the documents and frowned. "They violated their own bylaws," she said. This was fast-tracked. No proper notice, no homeowner vote. She advised caution, but I wasn't interested in mediation anymore. I dug deeper. With Bella's help, I spoke with Walter Harrison, the previous HOA president. He spilled everything. "She rigged the election," he said. "Scheduled the vote during Memorial Day weekend when most folks were out of town. Filled the room with new residents she'd recruited. By the time I realized, she'd already taken over. Her husband, Grant Chambers, was a real estate broker. His company, Chambers Lux Realty, specialized in buying undervalued homes for developers. And guess which homes were suddenly getting violations? Corner lots. Lakefront homes. Properties like mine. We mapped every home that had received new fines in the past 60 days. Every single one was adjacent to the proposed site of a rumored condo complex. A complex rumored to be spearheaded by, wait for it, Westbridge Urban Developments, one of Grant's biggest clients. Violet wasn't just enforcing rules. She was clearing the board. I organized a meeting at my house. Dozens came, young families, retirees, long-timers like me. All of us had stories. Fines for flower beds, citations for basketball hoops, threats of liens. We formed a coalition, Blue Cove United. That's when the retaliation began. I got cited for my trash cans being out 10 minutes past collection time. My lawn was measured with a ruler. My mailbox was declared non-compliant beige. But the worst came the day I got a letter from Chambers Lux Realty offering to buy my house, as is, promising full relief from all HOA-related issues. The offer was 35% below market. Micah found me that night, sitting in the garage, staring at Legacy's busted frame. "Are we going to lose our house?" he asked. "No," I said. "We're going to fight." And then Micah, bless his genius little brain, said the words that changed everything. "Maybe if they want the boat gone so badly, we should give them what they want." He pointed at the HOA's newly unveiled $30,000 fountain, a bloated monstrosity meant to symbolize community unity. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" I asked. "Only if we add fireworks." We didn't add fireworks, but we did add flair. At 2 a.m., with Bella running interference, we rolled Legacy out under the cover of darkness. I'd rigged a lightweight platform to protect the fountain base and installed temporary water jets through drilled hull holes. She floated perfectly. We even spray-painted a slogan down the side. "If it can't sit in my driveway, it'll sit in your fountain." By sunrise, the neighborhood chat group exploded. Photos, videos, memes. Violet called an emergency meeting. Police were summoned. News crews arrived by 9. I showed up at 10, sipping coffee and acting surprised. "That's my boat," I said. "Who would do such a thing?" Violet was livid. But with no proof, no witnesses, and no damage to the fountain, the cops shrugged and walked away. Legacy was removed at HOA expense. But her legend was immortal. The incident made local news, then regional, then national. It was picked up by talk shows and podcasts. The HOA boat guy became a household name. More importantly, it sparked real change. Melissa filed a formal complaint with the state's Department of Consumer Protection. Walter provided original HOA charters proving Violet's changes were invalid without a 75% homeowner vote. With 30% of homeowners signed on, we called a special vote. Violet fought hard. Grant whispered bribes. Legal threats came flying. But truth has a funny way of staying afloat. The night of the vote, the community center was packed. I presented everything: the violation patterns, the towing timeline, the real estate conflicts, the emails Greg had slipped me, and a signed affidavit from Dorothy, our oldest resident, who remembered the founding documents word for word. When it came time to vote, the result was decisive. 83% in favor of removing Violet Chambers as HOA president. The crowd erupted. Grant resigned the next morning. Their house went up for sale within the week. Melissa pushed for a full audit. Over $50,000 in fines and assessments were refunded to homeowners. The HOA board was restructured with transparency measures and term limits. As for Legacy, she got a proper send-off. At the next community gathering, rebranded as the Unity Picnic, she was displayed proudly beside the newly redesigned fountain. No longer as a symbol of rebellion, but of resolve. Micah stood beside me, grinning as he handed out boat-shaped cookies Bella had baked. "You ever think we'd be here?" he asked. "No," I said, "but I'm glad we are. Because sometimes, to protect what matters, you've got to rock the boat. And sometimes, just sometimes, you've got to float it right in the middle of a $30,000 fountain."